Breaking news! A leaked list of the Denver Broncos' top pre-draft visits is giving us a revealing glimpse into the mindset of the front office as they focus on options for the 20th overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft. I'll give you all the details on that in a moment, and you can be sure there will be surprises from here on out. Before you continue, make sure you've hit the like button if you believe the Denver Broncos will make it to the next Super Bowl. If possible, comment something like this: "Go Broncos! My heart bleeds orange and blue." Now, let's talk about the draft. What we're seeing is more than just smoke and mirrors. There's real fire behind some of these names, with Texas wide receiver Matthew Golden, running backs Amarian Hampton, Caleb Johnson, and Ashton Jeanty, and tight end Terrence Ferguson emerging as the most intriguing prospects. These aren't just random visits. This is the Broncos' war room narrowing its focus, and there's a lot to analyze. Let's start with the one everyone seems to be talking about, wide receiver Matthew Golden. This isn't just another speedster. This is a guy the Broncos clearly wanted a second look at. Officially signed for a pre-draft visit, Golden is a name that's starting to gain traction among Denver insiders. At 6'1" and 185 pounds, he's not as physically threatening as Courtland Sutton, but what he lacks in size, he makes up for in versatility and explosiveness. Golden lines up all over the field, but it's his speed and accuracy on routes that really catch the eye. One of the most respected voices in scouting, Dane Brugler, describes Golden as a fluid athlete with a keen understanding of how to break down defenders using eyes, hips, and feet in sync, a crucial trait when you consider the complexity of NFL defenses. His ball skills are praised as very natural, and while some might question his lack of prototypical size, Brugler doesn't see any red flags that would prevent Golden from becoming a productive pro. And that's not idle speculation. This is a player who posted nearly 1,000 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns in a Texas offense that was often inconsistent, especially due to shaky quarterback play. Still, not everyone's sold on using the 20th pick for a receiver. The Broncos' receiving room is deeper than it gets credit for, and there's a valid argument that premium draft capital could be better spent elsewhere, particularly at running back, which is where the conversation gets really interesting. The Broncos have brought in multiple backs for visits, including 3 of the top names in the class: Amarian Hampton, Caleb Johnson, and Ashton Jeanty. There's a sense of urgency here. Denver hasn't had a 100-yard rusher in a game since Latavius Murray, and that's been 3 seasons. It's a drought that has to end. Of those backs, Hampton appears to be the frontrunner, with back-to-back dominant seasons, including over 1,600 rushing yards last year while averaging nearly 6 yards per carry. He's a proven workhorse. And even when defenses stacked the box, knowing full well North Carolina would lean on him without Drake May, Hampton didn't flinch. He kept producing. The general sentiment from insiders is that if Hampton is there at 20, that's the pick. He may not be plug-and-play elite like Jeanty, who some scouts believe could be a top 5 NFL back as a rookie, but Hampton's potential is more than worth the first-round investment. Caleb Johnson is no slouch either. His visit to Broncos headquarters even leaked via his own Instagram story, a subtle nod to how teams don't always publicize every meeting. Johnson's physicality and vision out of the backfield make him a compelling option, especially if Denver misses out on their top choices. But between Johnson and Hampton, most scouts see Hampton as the slightly more complete back at this stage. And then there's the wild card, tight end. With Evan Ingram now in the mix, the Broncos don't have to force this position early, but that doesn't mean they're ignoring it. Dane Brugler's top 5 tight ends include Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Mason Taylor, Elijah Ayo, and a name Broncos fans should remember, Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. Ferguson not only brings strong production, nearly 600 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, but also has that built-in chemistry with Bo Nix, a potential quarterback of the future. If Denver waits until the 3rd round to address tight end, Ferguson could be the guy. It's a smart strategy. Tight end is a deep position in this draft class, and unless someone like Loveland or Warren falls, reaching in round 1 or 2 might not be necessary. Ferguson offers the Broncos a legitimate receiving threat who knows how to find soft spots in coverage, and with Nix potentially under center, that rapport could pay dividends quickly. So, what does all this mean? The Broncos are casting a wide net, but there's a clear hierarchy forming. If a top running back like Hampton or Jeanty is on the board at 20, that's likely the move. If those names are gone, flexibility becomes the name of the game. Maybe Golden gets the call. Maybe Ferguson waits in round 3. Either way, Denver isn't just looking to draft names, they're hunting for impact. Now it's your turn. What do you think, Broncos country? Are you all in on Matthew Golden as a surprise first-round pick? Or is Amarian Hampton the answer we've been waiting for in the backfield? Let me know who you'd want at 20 and whether the Broncos should play it safe or swing big. And speaking of swinging big, there's something undeniably bold about the way this Broncos front office is approaching the draft. It's not just about filling holes anymore, it's about finding guys who can take over games. That's why these pre-draft visits are more than just routine check-ins. Each name that leaks out, each prospect who walks through those doors in Denver, gives us a glimpse into what this team is trying to build. And there's a real shift in the air. This isn't a franchise stuck in rebuild mode. It's a team looking to compete. Let's circle back to the tight end conversation for a second because it ties into one of the bigger narratives here. The Broncos don't have to reach. Not at tight end, not even necessarily at running back. And that's crucial when you're picking at 20. You're not in the top 10, where blue chip talent is practically handed to you. You're in that gray area, too far back for a guaranteed superstar, but too high to waste a pick on a role player. That's why versatility, scheme fit, and projection matter more than ever. Terrence Ferguson might be the perfect example of that. His numbers don't scream first rounder, but when you consider the context, playing with Bo Nix, holding Oregon records at the position, being a reliable target in a high-powered offense, it's easy to see why Denver would be intrigued. He's the kind of guy you bring in if you're thinking about your quarterback's comfort and confidence. And if that quarterback is indeed Bo Nix, pairing him with a familiar face could be a game changer. But Ferguson's value only increases if the Broncos make certain moves earlier in the draft. If they lock down a star running back like Hampton or Jeanty in round 1, then suddenly you're not as desperate at tight end. You can let the board come to you. And that's what separates smart draft teams from the rest. They don't just react, they anticipate. Now let's go even deeper on those running backs because the love for Hampton is real, but it's not blind. He's not the perfect prospect. He's not going to catch 50 passes out of the backfield. He's not a home run threat every time he touches the ball. But what he does give you is reliability, toughness, and that ability to churn out yards even when there's no daylight. That matters in the AFC West, where you're going to be facing tough fronts week after week. And it matters when you consider how badly this team has struggled to move the chains on the ground. Let's not forget Denver's proud tradition of unearthing hidden gems after the draft. This team has had a UDFA make the 53-man roster in nearly every season over the last 2 decades. That's not an accident. It's part of the culture. It's part of the scouting department's DNA. So when you hear about names that don't show up on ESPN's ticker, don't dismiss them. That's where the Broncos do some of their best work. And that's really the heart of this whole pre-draft process for Denver. It's not just about big names. It's about fit. It's about vision. And it's about building something sustainable. Whether that starts with a thunderous running back like Hampton, a crafty playmaker like Golden, or a tight end connection from Oregon, the Broncos are in a position to make real progress this year. They've done the groundwork. Now it's about execution. So Broncos country, what's your move? Do you trust the front office to stay patient and let the board come to them? Or are you ready for a splash, maybe even a trade up for Jeanty or a surprise pick like Golden at 20? Hit the comments and let's talk strategy. Who's your guy, and how should Denver play it when the clock starts ticking?